The distress beacon had been broadcasting for 72 standard hours across 17 systems when the response finally came. Ambassador Cathari of the Valian Confederation clutched his crystalline communicator with trembling appendages as the unknown vessel's transmission crackled through the speakers of the refugee station. "This is Captain James Morrison of the Terran exploration vessel Defiance. We received your distress call. What's your situation?" The voice was deep, steady, and carried an undertone that made Cathari's scales ripple with unease. He'd never heard of Terrans before, but desperation overrode caution. "Unknown vessel. This is Refugee Station Zephyr 7. We have 12,000 civilians aboard. The hegemony fleet broke through our defenses 3 days ago. They're hunting survivors. We need immediate evacuation or," Cathari's voice caught, "or protection." A pause, then, "Copy that, Zephyr 7. Help is on the way." Within 6 hours, the human ship emerged from hyperspace. It was smaller than Cathari had hoped, sleek but unremarkable compared to the massive dreadnoughts he'd prayed would answer their call. Through the observation deck, he watched as a shuttle detached from the vessel and approached their station. The airlock cycled, and 2 figures stepped through. The first was clearly the captain, tall, broad-shouldered, with weathered features and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Behind him came a woman with dark hair pulled back in, a practical braid and the kind of alert posture that suggested military training. "Captain Morrison," Cathari said, offering the traditional Valian bow. "I am Ambassador Cathari. Thank you for responding, but I fear your single ship may not be sufficient. The hegemony forces number in the hundreds." James exchanged a look with his companion. "This is Lieutenant Naz Kadir, my tactical officer. We'd like to assess your situation before we make any promises." Naz stepped forward, her scanner already in hand. "How many hegemony ships are we talking about? What class?" 17 dreadnoughts, 43 destroyers, and an unknown number of fighter craft," Cathari replied, his voice hollow. "They've been systematically destroying every escape pod, every civilian transport they encounter." The humans remained silent for a moment. Cathari watched their faces, expecting to see the same despair that had settled over his own people. Instead, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Not fear, but calculation. 17 dreads, Naz murmured, making notes on her tablet. "That's actually fewer than the Proxima incident." "Different tactical situation, though," James replied. "No asteroid field to work with here." Cathari stared at them. "Forgive me, but you speak as if you intend to engage them." James looked at him with those unsettling eyes. "That's exactly what we intend. Lieutenant Kadir, begin evacuation protocols. Get our people over here to start organizing the civilians." "Wait," Cathari said, his voice rising. "You cannot seriously mean to fight an entire hegemony battle fleet with one ship." "You're right," James said, and Cathari's heart sank. "We can't fight them here. Too much risk to the civilians." He turned to Naz. "How long to get everyone aboard the Defiance?" "Impossible, sir. We don't have the capacity." "Then we make multiple runs. Get everyone to the ships we can reach quickly, the fast transports. Leave the heavy cargo." "Captain," Cathari interrupted, "even if you could evacuate everyone, the hegemony fleet will simply hunt us down. They have faster ships, more firepower." "Ambassador," James said quietly, "where we come from, 12,000 lives is worth fighting for. The hegemony fleet won't be hunting anyone." Over the next 4 hours, Cathari watched the humans work with an efficiency that bordered on terrifying. They moved through the station like a coordinated organism, organizing evacuations, cataloging resources, and treating the catastrophe as just another problem to be solved. The evacuation was nearly complete when the proximity alarms began wailing. On the main display, the hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace. 17 massive dreadnoughts, arranged in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. "All civilian vessels, this is Captain Morrison. Jump on my mark and don't look back." "Captain," Cathari said, "your ship will be destroyed." James smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Ambassador, there's something you should know. About humans. We come from what the galaxy calls a death world. High gravity, violent weather, predators that could eat most sapient species for breakfast. But that's not what makes us dangerous. On the screen, the Defiance was moving, not away from the fleet, but toward it. What makes us dangerous, James continued, is that we learned to survive by being meaner than anything that wanted to kill us. The human ship seemed to shimmer, and suddenly there weren't one but dozens of identical vessels spreading across space. The hegemony formation wavered, confused by the apparent fleet that had materialized from nowhere. Holographic projections, Naz explained, her fingers flying over her console. Ancient human military trick. Make the enemy think they're outnumbered. The Defiance, the real one, struck the lead dreadnought from below, its weapons tearing through shields that had been designed to withstand the firepower of entire fleets. The massive ship buckled and died in space. Impossible, Cathari breathed. Our weapons are kinetic, James said, his voice calm despite the chaos on screen. Tungsten rods accelerated to 97% of light speed. Turns out when you've spent a few thousand years finding creative ways to kill each other, you get good at it. The battle lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, the hegemony fleet was debris, and the Defiance hung in space, scarred but intact. How? Cathari asked. James looked at him with those predator eyes. You called for help, and Deathworlders answered. We don't do anything halfway, Ambassador. Not survival, not war, and not protecting 12,000 innocent lives. Later, as the rescued civilians were transferred to safe systems, Cathari found himself studying the humans with new understanding. They moved through the refugee ships with the same efficiency they'd shown in battle, but now he saw the gentleness beneath their strength, the way they comforted frightened children, the patience they showed with the elderly, the absolute determination to see everyone safely home. They were apex predators who had chosen to be guardians, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the Defiance prepared to depart, James clasped Cathari's shoulder. Safe travels, Ambassador. And remember, next time someone needs help, the Deathworlders will answer. The human ship disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only the scattered remains of 17 dreadnoughts and a story that would spread across 100 worlds. The day the Deathworlders proved that sometimes the most dangerous species in the galaxy was also the most compassionate.